things. And I will ask Planner Jesse Golden to conduct the roll.
Thank you, Chair Madrigal. Nancy Waldman for Planning, Building Services, and we have Ms. Madrigal, President. Here. Julian Lopez.
Here.
Alan Sanders.
Here.
Justine Herbert. Here. And Deirdre Lamb.
Here.
And then for the record, we have myself, Jesse Waldman, planner for Mendocino County Planning and Building Services, and also for your Mendocino Historical Review Board Executive Secretary. I am presenting, and we also have Senior Planner Mark Kaiser present, also presenting today.
Thank you. And was there a determination of legal notice?
Yes, proper notice has been assigned.
Continue. And so we've got an approval of the minutes of March 3rd.
Yep.
And there's just a little bit of those. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
And changes or anything?
I didn't see.
Is there any public comment on the minutes? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that passes. Planner Waldman, was there any additional correspondence for items not on the agenda?
Yes. Planner Waldman. On March 28th, an envelope was delivered to the Planning and Building Services with a Post-it note with information about site view map review order, and there's no name as to who dropped this off. And I wasn't able to respond to this person about the order of the site visits, and staff works really hard to make a continuous flow from point A to point E, let's say, for all site visits, and the agenda gets approved, and it has to be noticed properly for 10 days before the hearing. And so I received this 3 days after the agenda had already been posted. And I apologize to whoever dropped this off, but I did not communicate with them, but there's no name, and there's no phone number, and so if anybody knows who this is and they want to ask questions or have recommendations about site view order, please provide your contact information and I will respond accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No report from the chair, so public expression. So the review board welcomes participation. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person and not more than 10 minutes for a subsequent agenda item so that everyone may be heard. Public expression items are limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the review board that are not on today's meeting agenda, and we discuss those later, to be considered by the review board. So is there anyone that wants to speak to something that's not on the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing that. So nothing on the consent calendar, so I will move to MHRB's 9A, the DOT trash receptacles. Now we held this over because member Julian was not able to be here, and I wanted to make sure to get feedback. We also received some additional information, so do you want to say anything about that? And will.
With Claire Waldman for Mendocino County Planning and Building Services again. So as this project was continuing to a date certain today from the March 3rd meeting, at that meeting, I wanted to present, or I have the action letter where the board asked specific questions of the Department of Transportation regarding the trash can. And they have very kindly, they have submitted a letter dated March 7th, and that has been printed out in front of you today, as well as also been posted online. And they've answered each of your 7 questions. So I feel that they have asked, essentially, originally they asked for 3 different trash cans. They did not like option 1, they like option 3. And they are asking that the board consider approving option 2 and 3, where 3 is their first favorable, but they need a little bit of, they're asking for the board's flexibility on maybe having 2 of those tanks. Not tanks, trash receptacles, apologies about that. So the MHRD permit 2015, number 9, approved the replacement of 40 existing trash receptacles within the village of Mendocino, the town. And they are, Department of Transportation is specifically asking to change the style of the receptacles that are in town to make them more animal-free, or what's the right word? Animal-resistant trash receptacles. Because the trash seems to be pulled out of the trash can, and it's a cost that the county is trying, it's gross. Trash gets picked up a couple times, but the animals move it quicker than to empty the trash can. So they are specifically asking to support option 2 and 3 in their request. You would like me to read their 7 responses? I can, with the questions that the board asked on the March 3rd. Also in front of you, just before I complete everything, we did receive 2 public comments, one that was opposing the project, and then one that was in support of the project. And those have also been presented to you today. One was received at like 1:30 today, so I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, but it is in the back of the packet that you have, it's all stapled together, that's the packet, that's all about this application, the 2015 number 9. So if you would like me to read for the record those responses, I can. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. The applicant for the Department of Transportation is not here at this time. Their office is in the Ukiah, so they don't have staff to look here in the afternoon. It's difficult, but if needed, we can make arrangements.
Did they give you like a price number on how expensive it is for them to clean the trash up off of the street?
So, no.
They just said it's more expensive. Because that's what you had said earlier in your statement.
I apologize if I said it's more expensive to pick up the trash more often. The Mendocino Solid Waste Authority, they pick up the trash on their scheduled days.
And they're complaining to the Department of Transportation saying, no.
No, the public is complaining about the trash that is in the streets. Because I believe that the most common complaint is from the public saying that there's trash and we need trash serviced more, but the waste management company only does their regular scheduled pickups. And so eliminating one is some of the trash receptacles that you see in town are very deteriorated and some are not. There's sponsor adopt a can that has been talked about and was talked about at the last hearing in March,
Adopted one.
where owners within the town or business owners have an option to like adopt a can to help maintain it. That is available, I believe it's through the executive office in Deirdre might help
It's
board.
through planning and building, it's the DOT, it's
It's through-
planning and building site.
So there's adopt a plan that allows private citizens to help maintain the trash. Because they're looking for more solutions to help, one, eliminate animals from removing the trash, and also to limit the size of the opening so that people are not bringing their home waste in the public trash bins.
They're asking businesses, not private citizens.
I don't know who qualifies.
Businesses to what?
To adopt a can, but you have to show that you have up to $1 million liability insurance, so I don't know the private person.
I don't know the actual legalities of the adoptive can program. The Mendocino County, I believe the Department of Transportation does have a program that is available on their website that business owners or people from your community could look at for those qualifications. So the cost, the answer to your original question, Julian, the cost of picking up the trash more than the regular scheduled times, we did not Staff did not discuss that with the applicant. What we did discuss was the cost of the cans.
So with the applicant, they didn't specify that it costs more to pick up the trash.
I think the applicant is not, the applicant's not responsible for that budget amount. I believe this is a funded thing to pay for the cans, but I don't know that it was.
Well, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of why.
Yeah, I don't know if it was given as an alternative,
I
like,
think
it costs X amount.
the root of the problem is that there's been a lot of complaints submitted to the county about the trash, that
Right.
it's not being picked up as often as the community would like.
Okay.
And the type of receptacle is not prohibiting trash from coming out
Yeah.
in the proper method on the regular scheduled pickup day.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions?
Yes.
Go.
How much are the cans?
Is that our issue though?
Hold on, just one minute.
If you were asking how much is extra pickup, how
Wow,
much?
the
Well, only-
aesthetics is what we're looking for now. so-
Except for that we just spent, I want to say $33,000 on cans.
You said that was 3 years ago?
I think it was, well, I don't know, it was like 5 years ago, please. I actually have it right here.
Federal's got percentages on.
Yes, if I may through the chair. So at the last hearing, the presentation that was brought to you was the 3 options. Option 1, which is not wanted by the department due to the aesthetics and also the accessibility of it, that was $1,425. Option 2 has a foot lever action. It is more aesthetically pleasing and also accessible, and the board supported that at the last hearing. It is one of the options that the department is asking for, and it is $1,464. And option 3 is, I do not have a price on option 3, but what I can tell you is that the applicants from the Department of Transportation have told the county planning and building services that these types of trash cans that they have chosen fit into the money that has been designated for this program for Department of Transportation. I do not know how much it costs for trash to be picked up,
It's not.
but I do know that they are funded and there is designation funds set aside specifically for replacing the existing trash cans that are in town.
Okay.
As these ones I were proposed, they are within their budget, and they know that they would be able to replace options 1 and 2, or 2 and 3 throughout, and that they have allocated funds.
Was that meant for the cattle for you?
So it's interesting because the original NHRD application said that they could have up to 40 cans, and they never installed all 40. I believe that there is 27 installed throughout town. That was also in the original application. Hold on just a moment. I have to count because I don't have it in front of me. I think it was 27 cans exist in town, and that's what they are proposing to maintain. I believe one was relocated over by the bookstore, and that actually eliminated a lot of trash getting pulled out. Like where it was located was a very vulnerable location. So on Main Street and Caston, one was relocated further away from the edge of the street. And then I believe that the one at the very end of Main Street and Easer Street was also removed. That's at the entrance, like if you're walking out at the very end of Main Street out onto the head of Inspector Beach. Yeah.
So,
So
again,
27,
the price per can or per 27, or what was the quote for $14,000? What was it quote for?
1,400.
I don't know.
It's in the calculator.
It's-
There was
For some reason I heard 14,000, well, that's right.
so staff did not get the information about the budget that DOT has been approved for. I didn't feel that that was something, if you want that information, we can take that back to the department applicant.
So I have a question. How do you know approximately how many complaints?
I do not.
And have we had complaints of this nature in recent memory about this kind of problem?
I will say that I do not know the quantity of complaints, but I can tell you that I worked with the county for 7 years, and I think that it's been going on for longer than that.
Okay, and is there any way to have a partial test of these receptacles that they will only have like maybe 3 or 4 available and then see if people actually use them? Is that possible?
I can present that to the applicant.
Okay.
They'll use them because we're going to remove the old trash cans.
Well, I'm saying we could have a mixture to start off with. Maybe that would be a way to see if they're, people really adapt to this. Because we had a concern at the last meeting that the way you use them, you have to touch the surface. Board member.
This new one has a foot lever.
Yeah, there's a foot lever, but then that could malfunction. So it's just I have the concern that people won't really use it because you have to touch and.
I don't wanna touch it, and I have a dog.
Well, but what I'd like to do, I do think there's some people in the public that would like to speak to this, and I'd like to open it up to them. Then are welcome and we'll bring it back to here for early session. Do you have anything else that you want to add to your presentation?
I would like to add that both options 2 and 3 that are requested by DOT are foot operated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, if you were gonna get the dimensions, I think? Is
They're
that
on
yours?
it's on the sheet on the back side. With dimensions of option 2 and 3.
Oh, on the back side.
Or no, on page 3, number 3.
Of the opening? That's what we.
So on their
Question 4.
question 4 on
Option
the Deirdre's
Yes.
second to last page of that legal packet.
Oh, okay.
Second to
Oh,
last.
there, okay, size of rotation, 16, how big that?
Okay, thank
2.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to open this up to the public, if anyone would like to speak to this item. I see our supervisor. If you wouldn't mind
So,
stating your name.
Ken Williams, Mendocino County 5th District Supervisor. I'm not here to lobby you, but just to answer some of the questions. A lot of complaints come to my cell phone. And they're of the form, there's trash on the sidewalk again, why is the county picking it up? Getting counties, this town generates a lot of revenue. A lot of revenue for the county. My argument is part of generating that revenue is a visitor serving town. There's certain expenses, maintaining sidewalks, picking up trash. That said, getting money out of the county to provide city-like services to clean up the blocks for over 6 years has been a real struggle. It takes 3 votes. I don't know if I can get 2 in 1 vote, or 1 in 1 vote, and 4 Brian to support us. So the bottom line is people call and they say there's trash blowing down the street again. Often, I've been the one to go down there and bag it up. I don't mind doing it. I see you have other generous community members who do the same thing. They pick up the trash because you can't just leave it there. But I don't know that we can ever keep up with the birds and the raccoons. I have videos. One day I was down there picking it up in the morning, and I'm putting it in the can, putting it back. I turn around, there's a bird pulling it out. And then at night, one of the cans on Main Street, I'm putting the trash back in, and 3 raccoons crawl out of the can. So the 3 problems that we're dealing with are animals, birds and raccoons primarily. They like to just go through there and pull everything out just for the fun of it. That's really hard to combat with cans that don't close. The second is household trash. I've confronted people and hey, you can't dump, you can't pop your trunk and dump as much as you can fit in the can. It's for the whole community, it's for visitors. And I've gotten some colorful language about that. I don't know how to solve that. And then third is the frequency of pickup in the summer months when there's a lot of visitors here. The cans are overflowing. This is not and we've tried to get the waste company to pick up more often. There really isn't a cost-effective way to do it. They're working on schedule. They may be having more cans scaling up from the, I think it's 24 that we have now, maybe scaling up towards the 40 would eliminate some of that concern that there would be the same trash spread over more cans. The one problem I see staff trying to address, and I support them on, is cans that prevent the animals from pulling the trash out. I have hundreds of photos of trash cans. I toured trash receptacles from Fort Bragg to San Jose, looking at what works. And that option 2 and 3, I saw in a lot of places. Healdsburg and Berkeley both have that style. And it may be Berkeley has student population, but I see nobody wants to touch it. But they hit the foot pedal, it opens, they throw their trash in. And you don't see trash anywhere near the can. It's all making its way in and the animals aren't pulling it out. Any questions?
So you're already familiar with that company that does that?
Yeah, I can give staff some photos if you want to mail them around.
You're
But-
vouching that the foot pedal does function as
My concern was I think we have one shot at doing this, we better do it right. And it seemed like that foot pedal, you barely tap it and the receptacle
And
opens.
it doesn't seem like there's been any issues with it breaking it, because we have 3 million people going through Mendocino
Yeah.
every year. About 3 million people. So
I think it's the same model was on the University of California, Berkeley campus. They've got 45,000 students using
they
it,
do.
probably higher
That's
volume.
true.
So I'm confident the staff will pick a model that's been tested that won't fail. The household trash may still be a problem, although it won't be possible to shove it into the receptacle. Will people dump it next to the receptacle? That could be a new problem. But I think dealing with the animal problem will be a huge win. If it weren't for generous community members picking up the trash, it would look a lot worse than it does today. So if we walk around and say hey, it doesn't look like much of a problem, that's because a lot of people are putting in effort to put the trash back in the can when the
Some
animals.
of us as business owners have adopted a can,
Yeah.
so
Did you
I know Aaron
secure,
and I did, yeah.
did you secure funding for this by, like, pitching the issues that you just, like,
Well-
to us? Or where's this funding coming from? Like, how do they get allocated? How do they get
Yeah,
passed?
it's general fund. So,
Okay.
the county this coming year will spend close to $500 million. About a fifth of that is general fund. About 2/3 of that is made up from property tax.
But you went to the board of supervisors and they reviewed trash cans, it's an issue, but.
This has been on the agenda a couple of times. We actually take photos of the residents pulling the trash out, so they got the gist of what's going on here.
Yeah,
So I don't think we need to worry about the funding. DOT can fund.
I'm just asking because there's other issues in town that, like the roads, for example, I mean, are just a absolute disaster. And I know that the DOT, I'm just wondering how you're framing this to be able to get funding for new trash receptacles. To see if we can maybe use this model to be like, hey, like, my axle just got ripped off, like, my bookkeeper's axle was ripped off her car because she was parked on like the side of the road like this. So I'm just wondering,
I don't want to derail your meeting with other topics, but there is an item on the Board of Supervisors' agenda tomorrow to allocate money to roads. That's at 11 o'clock Willetts, and you can zoom in, and I encourage public participation.
great.
Any other questions?
If I may, through the chair. Thank you, Mr. Williams, for attending today. The Department of Transportation did provide 3 options with full specs and photos that she said was proposed and discussed with the Board of Supervisors. They're within the budget. So I'd just like to add that if you're going to email them, we have
You already
3
have those.
options
Yeah.
from Mr. Bissett.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Roger said it's spent probably a couple of years working on this problem, and we've tried all different approaches, and finally we've come to we need different cans.
Were you on the board of supervisors when we changed the cans 3, 4, 5 years ago?
I was on this board.
Were you part of that when we?
I've been on for 6.5 years.
So did you know anything about when we changed the cans last?
Last time it was done without my knowledge.
It was in 2015. I just looked it up.
It's 2015. Gotcha.
I just looked it up, yeah.
That's good.
There might be some discussion about what happens to the old ones, or.
It looks like they're going to be recycled. In the document, and the answers. Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you.
that.
Yep.
I think they're very Anyone else would like to speak to that?
Just briefly, Deborah Lennox had said just about everything I was gonna say, but thinking about MHRB and aesthetics, that's what you guys are looking at, aesthetics. My office is at the end of Main Street, I drive in the morning, there's a posse of raccoons and ravens just really having at the cans in front of the Ford House bathrooms. And then at night, if I work late, there's like at least 4 or 5 ginormous raccoons running around in the culverts. So these 3 options are bear-proof. I think that in order to get a bear-proof can, because raccoons are like bears, you know, I've looked through all the other options that are aesthetic and kind of historical looking, and they all have openings that these creatures can get into, and so I feel like I'd be willing to sacrifice the absolute aesthetic, at least in a couple of target areas where they're really under attack by these animals, for something that keeps them out, because the great trash is just an absolute horror. It's all over the street, and it's very displeasing to the tourist element for shopping. And then if we did 40 cans instead of 24, then maybe we would happen, they wouldn't get from used. So I support, and I like number, the ones with the foot pedals, number 3 and number 2 and 3 are on the rock section. Thank you. Thank you.
So you said your name right there?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Holmes?
Hi, Tom Kemper, former member of this august body.
Thank you.
I guess I've submitted something in writing that basically says that I don't see the need to change the receptacles, the existing trash receptacles. I'm not convinced that they're not doing their job. I think if we need additional ones, I don't have a problem with that. If we need to repair the ones we have, or if we need to make them a little more secure, that's fine. But I think the basic design is a traditional design that I think fits in to the historic nature of our village more than these very modern receptacles that are being proposed. If you're worried about the security of the receptacles, I know that there are at least 2 across the street from Mendoza's that have what look to me very secure lids on them. I find it hard to believe that animals could get in there. I think that the designs, all 3 designs that have been proposed, are really not appropriate in a historic preservation area. And I think that the existing receptacles have a traditional design that fits in well with Mendocino, and therefore I would urge the board to ask the county to go back to the drawing board and come up with something that either looks more like what we have now, or at least, or just to keep what we have and repair the ones that need repair, or make them more secure if they need to be made more secure. That's basically my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, too.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this item? Okay, I'm gonna close the public comment and bring it back up here. Can I have a reminder, Claire Waldman, about the action that is being requested, that we're being asked to say, yeah, and I know that there are some additional comments that work with that, but.
Sure. So the request specifically today is a minor alteration to NHRB permit number 2015, number 9, where the request for direction on the proposal to replace the existing 40 trash receptacles with a new style of animal-resistant trash receptacles, as shown on attachment B, that was for the March 3rd hearing. DOT proposes 3 different options, and I am also going to add this, that request is amended to state DOT proposes options 2 and 3.
Yes.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll bring it back up here. I know that, hopefully we don't have to rehash everything that was discussed last time, but Julian, you weren't here, and I don't know, I know some of us have received additional feedback from the community in the interim. Did you want to go?
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention one thing. I mean, I have a business here on Ukiah Street, east of Lansing, and I know Home lives east of Lansing as well. We don't really have a trash problem on the streets. I don't see trash on the streets. When I leave my trash out at the restaurant, raccoons get into it, trash goes out. So the raccoons are an issue, but if you keep the trash concealed or in the dumpster and you clean up at the end of the night, there's no trash issue. So I imagine that the majority of the trash issues right are on Main Street where there's like, I'm looking at a map right now, about 12 trash cans. So you have a trash can, people put trash in it. There's gonna be more trash rolling around the street. You know, east of Main Street where I am, there's no trash cans. People bring their trash, you can either keep it and throw it away at their hotel, or they'll bring it down, walk down the street, and be like, oh, there's a trash can, so you can dump it in there. So the lack of trash cans on the east of Lansing, I think, contributes to me not seeing trash around. But that being said, I think that I would recommend voting on one of these trash cans and just sealing it up, keeping the critters out, and my only recommendation would be, well, I like option 3. I think that the branding, I don't think we should have a brand, visible to the public. I think it should be a matte color with no branding, and yeah, it's a tough issue because the trash cans we have now, they look fine, they look historical, but I agree with some of the public's, comments that the trash issue is a problem, especially during the summertime when we have an influx of tourists. And I think the trash schedule is Monday and Friday or Monday and Thursday. So you have a Sunday night, you have a whole weekend of tourists coming through this town. There's trash everywhere, And it's not only the problems with it's not only the issues with the animals. It's tourists shoving trash into these small trash cans and it's piling out. So it looks like the size is larger on both options, but I'm kind of in favor of the option 3 without the handle, and then maybe making an amendment saying no branding, matte color. That's where I'm at. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's kind of what I feel.
They're not doing the handle anymore, so if you read the fine print here, it says the front doors are
Okay, so
changed, the
either
aluminum handle is gone, yeah.
Either or, I don't care. No
Right.
matte color, nothing. It's all one color, so that it's not extremely recognizable, other than it being the trash can.
So you wouldn't want the logo on it?
No. I mean, I don't want to walk down the street and look at some corporation that you built the trash can wherever.
But then again, the logo where it shows that it's a trash can, maybe, because it kind of looks like mailboxes to me, but.
Yeah, I don't mind the little person putting the trash in, because then.
I think that was kind of simple, yeah.
Yeah, I think he said that because available. I'm talking on the phone with this guy.
But do you all agree that there's an issue with trash?
I'm not convinced.
I'm not either.
The one thing I see is that, our neighbors, they rent out to people, and the people don't pack out the trash. They keep stacking it up in the bin as the bin gets overflowing, so people, or other people put their household trash from their weekend and stuff.
Into the public trash.
Yeah, into the public.
Yeah, so we used to have trash, but I think next door, the apartment building finally got a dumpster, so that cleared up the problem around my office. But yeah, people were living upstairs and bringing their trash down across the street and putting it in our can. It was terrible.
I think the problem exists. I'm not warming to the aesthetics of the
The new ones.
especially the boxy ones.
And have you been here through it all summer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you know that it gets crazy here, and I think it's just gonna get busier, and I think the demand for trash cans are just gonna increase.
Right, we're not in the busy area. We're all the way down at Kelly's,
Okay.
so it's a whole different.
So I'm on Ukiah Street down, across from the package ship, and the corner of Lansing, down. The corner of Caston and Ukiah is a problem. After our last meeting, my next door neighbor texted me all these images. There was, I think it was household garbage. I think it may have been some bathroom bathroom material, like scattered all across the intersection. And like, that's not something that the regular traffic out people are gonna deal with, you know, like things like that. And that ends up being, those of us who are out there. I've, been walking by Dick's and had a raccoon leap out of the trash can. I mean, they really are,
Yeah,
especially in that corner, that at the end of the street. I understand that these are not, you know, historically aesthetic, but I do think that they would kind of disappear like a power line box, you know, that you kind of don't see because they're just kind of utilitarian and not flashy. I do want to say that the fact that this is currently a funded, you know, project, I would hesitate to let that go by. We could send it back to the drawing board, but it may never come around again. You know, this has been an issue that people have complained about, and this is an attempt to address it, and I want to miss this one.
Jesse, do we know who drew up the plan for where trash cans live?
Sure, this is where they operate, not where they want to be.
Well, like, I'm just saying, so like, I was looking at the piece of paper. The trash cans that are in town, who designated the area for the trash cans to live?
So in 2015, this permit was done by Mendocino Solid Waste Management Authority. And it was in partnership with the Department of Transportation. So Mendocino Solid Waste Management Authority is no longer within its scope, but Department of Transportation has been overseeing it for this many years.
So we imagine
They
they're gonna,
determine where the trash cans go then.
yes,
Yeah.
and we imagine they're probably gonna put them back where they were.
Yes.
But, so my comment would be, well, first of all, Alan's point, somebody commented, that, the two outside of Mendoza's are clear proof, but it has been a very expensive endeavor. So that was the first comment, no number to it, but that was the comment that came back. Second thing is, I mean, we have 27 now, we're gonna put 40 out, that may help the problem, there's like 13 more trash cans.
There will be an increase of trash cans to
Well, if you put 40 out and we're only 27 at the moment, yes, is that the plan?
So the original MHRD permit allowed them to increase from 27 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, this permit from 2015 allowed for 40. I believe, based on discussion with the applicant, that they don't want to reduce the number of allowed trash cans,
Obviously.
but they are not sure that they want to actually put 13 more trash cans in town, but they definitely want to change the existing that are in town so that they are animal resistant.
So why don't they want to use the full 40 that they say they just don't want to mount or the others
Well,
that they did, or?
I don't know why the 40 was not installed back in 2015. This permit does allow the option to increase the number of trash receptacles.
And we're budgeted for 40.
That is my understanding.
So why would we not use 40? Why would we not make that a requirement for the duration of the permit? For the use of full permit?
I can take that back with the
Okay, that's
applicant.
it, then if we go that way.
I don't think we need 40.
Well, I don't know, I mean, if
Have you seen this map? Have you seen this map?
A lot of trash around.
It's only on, you only have trash cans on Main Street,
I have.
Nothing
so I
needs
got
to-
what I can. I
nothing
just-
east of Lansing,
I got this map.
nothing north of, I don't think,
Just look on the pile.
couple on Ukiah, there's nothing, nothing on Calpella, nothing
Okay,
on
I
Little
speak to
Street.
Rotary Park, we did approve two of the Rotary Park at the time, Jerry
Rotary
Carver.
Park has.
Jerry Carver was alive at the time, and he has an aversion, he's passed away a couple months ago, but had an aversion to having cans, and I'm like, so we went ahead and approved them. When I was on the board and we approved everything for the Rotary Park, we approved 2 cans there. Because I thought, well, the farmer's market's there, and then you also often have food trucks that show up. And he thought it might attract homeless people. But I really think that 2 cans should go in the Rotary Park, and
Well,
that's
that's
already
right.
been approved.
Yeah.
So that's 2 more, yeah. I mean, that
Well,
we
that's, I
already,
guess that's my question.
Yeah,
we approved that with the permit for the Rotary Park.
Jesse,
Which is
if
different
we
from-
make a motion to approve one of these options, can we include this will only go through if you allow 40 to be put into the town? and then that's the only way that it'll pass our vote, because I don't believe it.
Are you asking
So-
if there's a way to approve this minor alteration
With
with
the,
a condition, then part of the minor alteration process that has been adopted by the review board is that it does not change the conditions or the findings of the standing MHRD permit. So if we were to add a condition, I believe that we would have to have the Department of Transportation ask for a formal MHRD permit application and charge the fees, and bring it back with a complete staff report to add the.
We're not adding a permit, ask for 40, but we're approving 40. The question is,
Let's take a little
let me
bit
finish.
back at
Let me finish. The question is, where do those 40 go? Is there a useful place? Deirdre's always said 2, so we're not gonna go back to the DOT and say, we're gonna approve it. We're already approving for 40. What we need to know is where they're gonna go and if they're gonna be used. Can we do that?
You can definitely put that request, and I will take that back to
I
the
think
applicant.
that's a request we need to get answered.
But I would not be able to approve the request for minor alterations with a new condition.
Right.
Saying you have to show us where, and you have to install 40 trash cans. That would be.
My
a
concern
different
is that this is just gonna go away. It's gonna go back over the hill, and they're gonna go, this is too confusing, forget it.
Well, and the existing, if the motion was to approve basically staff's recommendation with number 3 and 2, I think were the options, or we could say we prefer 2, is what I've heard. That can be up to 40, that's already existing in the, like, that's already what we're
Then we don't know where they go.
we do not have that in front of us today. That's right.
If I may.
Yeah.
You know, just a little part of like how things change in years, because that was 10 years ago, is there was not a formal site plan submitted with that original MHRD permit in 2015. I just go through our county records, and in 2015, the application packet, the hearing packet did not include where. I did ask the Department of Transportation to provide a site plan with the minor alteration to show where the 40 can would be. And she said, I have just made this site plan showing you where the existing 27 or 23 are located. And there was discussion about actually reducing the number of trash cans that are in town, because maybe less trash cans, this was discussed at the last hearing, maybe less trash cans would mean less trash problems, but then where does the community service, the people that come here, the tourists and the visitors, where does that service go? And so how do we balance the trash? Now I'm getting a little bit political.
I'm gonna see if we can get to a solution on this. So if,
I just wanna make.
excuse me, hold on 1 second. If we could get a motion to approve this, we could ask that DOT provide a site plan to us, or invite them to come and talk about it, because we, like the locals, know where it would be better to have them. Like, as not as a requirement, not a restriction on this permit, but that we would like to see when they're crafting, where they're gonna put them. We would like to find out where they are. Jesse, and then I'm gonna share that.
Thank you. Couple of things. The minor alteration request in front of you today does not allow us to approve the request with conditions. So if we,
That's not what I said. I said we could invite them. They're not a condition.
And
They're not a
they can choose not to come.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
it is either a yay or a nay, but if there is a request from the board, we would be glad to bring that back to the applicant. Also, I forgot what the other comment was, they make it come back in your direction. It was like, your name.
Go ahead, and I am hoping that we can get to some sort of resolution. Go ahead.
Okay, so, being that it wasn't, before we had these elegant looking trash cans, we did have wine barrels with a metal top that was a nightmare. But I can see where these cans would be better for for keeping animals out, but when this all happened, because I was there, it required pouring cement pads and having installation for each of these cans. So what you're not realizing that, hey, well, why don't we just add like another 10 cans, that means that they're gonna be pouring cement in a number of different places and all that, and that's something that becomes sort of a MHRD concern because of the code.
I think we should just approve the same cans. I mean, I don't know, well, where are you at in this, because you haven't really expressed your.
Yeah, I think that it is worthwhile to approve the permit as stated and invite them to come in their plan.
Yeah,
I really
I
see
agree.
it, like, I don't feel the need to,
Make a condition.
yeah, which would put this off and on.
I
So,
know.
so let me ask a rhetorical question then.
Yeah.
So they come back with a plan, and we don't like it, what happens?
Yeah, you could ask them not, you could as a citizen,
As a citizen,
ask
as a
them not to
review
put
board,
a question in
as a
there.
review board, you've already passed the motion, so the permit, so you can't do it. So that's an exercise in futility.
That is true. If
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
am willing to bet, odds are they're gonna wanna use the same places where they are existing.
Yeah, but apparently there are two places where it should be.
And
Well,
there's
no,
no-
but that was,
yeah.
but not necessarily, that was approved through a different application.
I
That was approved
understand,
for the
but
rotary
if they
application.
replace the ones that are there and do no extra,
No,
then you're
there's,
still gonna have two left, two that aren't in Rotary Park.
but road, that was a different application.
I know it's a different application, my point is, if they take and just replace the ones that are there, there's nothing there in Rotary Park, so you're still gonna end up with that two cans in Rotary Park.
My opinion is someone from the Rotary needs to come forward and say, we want our 2 cans
Yeah.
that we had approved. And since we're approving up to 40 cans, then the DOT can say, oh, okay, great, well, you're approved up to 40 cans.
Yeah.
Your permit's been approved for the 2 cans. You've come before us again, sure. Let's put the 2 cans there and we'll do the pickup.
That's what I imagine. I don't imagine this being an adversarial thing with DOT, but it is true that, they could decide to put one somewhere. But I'm sort of willing to risk it, because I pick up the trash. It blows directly down the street into the ocean, and I try to stop as much of that as possible.
I think.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Before you do.
Yeah.
No, sorry. One of the items that the board was talking about was about a max color, so these, just for clarity, the proposal is for black, and option 2 and option 3, their specifications on the manufacturer's website do not specify mattes, and one of them is wrappable. Meaning that if somebody wanted to put a decal, which is gonna be very foreseen in the village itself, but, they don't specify about matte black also. I just wanted to, I double check that while you were
Maybe
talking.
matte was the wrong word, but I just, like, no decal.
Right.
No, they're not
They're
proposed,
flashes.
but they don't
Because the
specify,
picture has a decal.
it has a brand name on it.
Brand name, yeah, so no brand name.
So again, if you
That's-
are talking about matte black, the manufacturing companies for option 2 and 3 do not specify that they have a matte black option.
So we're gonna have these trash cans on the street and it's gonna say Big Belly on the side of the can.
And that if we're going to modify what they are proposing.
Yeah, it's a no, then they gotta
We
go
want
back to
to-
the drawing board, but
We would want to continue it to a date certain with those specific concerns.
these are the only 2 options. That we
There's
can vote yes
3.
on. Yes, the 3, that's the first one. What I'm trying to say is that if we vote yes on one of these, it's gonna say Big Valley or,
But I think we could paint over that, because kind of
I mean, we can't do that.
well, somebody in the middle of the night, right?
We have a number of other items, so we have a motion,
I have a
For which
motion
one?
to approve, option 2.
Can you be specific?
Well-
Because it's a little, is
The left, the left one.
Okay,
the left one?
So that's my motion.
Okay, but hold on.
wait, we're starting to make a motion,
But
yeah,
this
can we
one-
just finish this talk here?
You're talking about the one with the hand.
Yeah, the one on the
Okay.
left.
Okay, but unfortunately, they're discontinuing that design.
Okay, so.
You can make a motion as well.
Well,
But
okay, guys, hold on.
They're,
The recommended, the staff's recommendation is that we allow, in accordance with the permit, doing of preference of number 2, and then secondary preference of number 3, not specifically saying like it had,
I either or, like,
You weren't here for last meeting, so let me just address the opening we talked about. So when you look at the opening of option 2, the opening is 12 inches wide by 6 inches high. That's a foot, and the other one is 16.5 inches by 5
Well,
inches.
that'll probably keep the people from their homes dumping their trash bags into there, if it's a smaller hole. What,
Well, they'll probably open the side door and throw it in, and we're gonna leave it on the side, I mean.
are you objecting
do you want us to?
No, before he makes a motion for option 2, I just wanted
You
to
want a
address
bigger
that.
hole
I
to,
think so.
why?
Because if people buy stuff in out of this world and they got big packaging or the toy store, they wanna show
So
it.
the option, the motion would be for option 3 only then.
Well, they want us to do 2.
I know what they want, but I'm just saying, your motion would be
I mean,
option 3, but reject.
You can make a motion too, I mean, I'll
I
rescind my motion.
mean, I think what Ed Williams was saying was that he'd prefer for us to make a motion for both.
I understand that.
Are you gonna make a motion for both?
Do that, just because you said.
Because I heard that you were gonna do option 2.
I'd rather make it specific to one.
If I may.
Yeah.
Option 2 is the Bear Saver that has a no handle and a foot lever action. And, the email that I believe Julian Mr. Lopez is referring to is actually the big belly, and that is option number 3. And it comes with or without a handle.
Okay, so then the picture, I mixed the picture up.
Correct.
So the big belly is option 3 in the picture.
Correct.
Both
Okay.
pictures.
So
Both pictures.
both pictures are okay. So I'll make a motion to pass option 3 as a yes to replace the trash receptacles in town.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions up here? Are there any further questions from the public? Okay, could I get a roll call please on this?
Yes. Okay, the option or the motion on the table is to approve the modifications. So minor alterations to MHRB permit 2015-0009, request for direction on the proposal to replace the existing 40 trash receptacles with a new style of animal-resistant trash receptacle as shown on attachment B. DOT proposes option 3. That's what the board is
It's been
approving.
motioned and
Motion
seconded.
seconded.
Okay, thank you, just for clarification. Option 3. Okay, Deirdre Lamb,
Aye.
Alan Sanders,
Aye.
Holly Mandel,
Yes.
and
Lopez.
Lopez,
Yes.
and Justine.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion moves forward unanimously.
Yeah, I'll.
We can do that later.
Yeah, I would like to invite them to come on to the plan.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so,
Just going on there for a second.
thank you guys, I know this.
Yeah, thanks for your patience on that. Big deal, trash in the town. It really is.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to NHRB 2024-0012, this is AT&T exterior alterations.
Good evening, Mark Pfeiffer, planner.
for this project, MHRB 2024-0013. The request tonight is for a replacement of the 50 kilowatt generator currently located on the subject parcel, be replaced with a 107 kilowatt generator. The parcel is addressed at 10491 Howard Street, parcel number 119-15016. The existing 500-gallon underground diesel storage tank will be also replaced with a 933-gallon belly tank that will be underneath the generator, so both of these will be outside. The applicant is proposing concealing these behind an 8-foot unpainted fence that will be on the east elevation and the north elevation. And that's in addition to the trees that are currently there. The parcel is not a historical resource, and in addition to emergencies when the generator will run, it will be maintained once a month for approximately an hour, hour and a half. Applicant has told me that the decibels will reach 54 dBA at about 21 feet, and that's about this noise of an exhaust fan. And that's this. The applicant is not here tonight to speak. Any questions?
This is a site visit today, and that hedge is huge.
That's
Yeah, you can't see it anyway. Any other questions for Mark? Thank you for that. Is there any public that would like to speak to this item? Okay, we're going back here. Is there a motion?
So the motion is approved. Second.
Give me a motion and a second.
That's exciting.
Call for vote?
Yeah. These two are very weird with me. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Here, Joanne.
Aye.
Justine Herbert.
Aye.
Holly Randall.
Aye.
And Alan Peters.
Aye.
And Julie Lopez. The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, moving on to item 9C, MHRB 2025-0002. This is Mendocino Hotels, the Heiser House sidewalks.
Almost there.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Jesse Walker. I'm Lily Richard again. Today we have the Mendocino Historical Review Board application number 2025. Number 2, the site is located at 45080 Albion Street. The parcel is listed as a Category 1 structure on the parcel of the Heiser House. And as stated, the project is to request to demolish existing parking stalls, curb and heating and wood deck. There will be new parking, including new striping and spacing for new accessibility parking stalls and access aisles. New exposed aggregate to match existing walkways across the site. Wooden decks will be rebuilt level to the entry doors. And the reason for this request is the Heiser's house is under new ownership, and the new owners are wanting to revamp, not change the existing buildings, they just want to revamp the interior. They've applied for building permits. As part of the California Building Code for commercial activity is to upgrade the accessibility access to current standards. The existing sidewalks, as we saw at the site today, are not going to pass that code, accessibility code with the building division. Their building permits will not be able to be finalized until they have adequate accessibility. And today when we were at the site visit, the owners brought larger sets of plans. We put them up on the wall here in red. You can see the proposed area that is to be demolished, meaning reconfigured to satisfy the accessibility requirements for the buildings, all 5 buildings on the site, or excuse me, 4 of the garden suite buildings to be, rehabilitated. There's no exterior changes to the structures themselves, just the, exterior pathways and deck access. So in red, there's one marked accessibility parking space. And the surface of the accessibility parking spaces needs to be up to current accessibility codes for the building department. The existing parking area, that material will all stay. And they're gonna do a deck expansion, and I could highlight it, and I'm gonna dash a little bit here. But here, there is the shaded area of the new decking that the new accessibility parking will have three accessibility parking spaces in the same location. There's no reduction in the parking that's on site. They're not losing parking. They are going to expand their ramps, aggregate walkway to north of the existing gazebo so that it can connect to one continuous deck to all rooms inside of the Heiser house to satisfy their accessibility requirements to upgrade the buildings. Staff would like to point out there are 8 conditions within the staff report, 5 which are standard, and 6, 7, and 8, those 3 additional conditions, talks about the new and repaired pathways shall be constructed using materials that match the existing aggregate concrete on the paths at the site. The site lot coverage is not being increased, it's being reconfigured. All handrails and guardrails shall be constructed of redwood and copper materials. The materials proposed were discussed at the site visit. That's a clarification right there, is that the decking will be wood, redwood, and the rails will be of a metal material. Colors and reveals shall be similar to existing materials and finishes on site. And then, of course, any new exterior lighting, like if they need to put lighting around the accessibility pathways, that those would be shielded, illuminated, shall only be reflected downward and positioned in a manner that does not allow light glare to extend beyond the property boundary lines. And staff does recommend approval within the staff report conditions. I have not received any public comment regarding this project, and just trying to think, there's no tree removal, we discussed that today at the site visits. And we're excited about this project. That concludes my
So I do have a question. Okay, so a couple of years ago, there was locals who wanted to take a tree down and was told to bring it in front of the board, and do you recall that? Because
there's lots of trees that people about.
what happened was, it turns out that the trees are not part of MHRD board, so just to let you guys know that there are trees that have to come down, it doesn't have to report.
So if I may clarify, there have been trees within the town of Mendocino. The reason why that have been removed that are been found to be exempt from MHRD. Mendocino Historical Review Board guidelines are very particular, and any tree removal of a tree that is of visual significance should be brought to the board, whether it's through a permit or not, before it's removed, unless it's already fallen.
Okay, let's not, since that is not being proposed in any way on this, like,
I think
that is interesting,
I bring that up
I think
because
that's the reason why these.
I brought up, right,
Go ahead.
if I may through the chair.
Yeah.
I brought up the fact that the applicant is not proposing any tree removal today because it was something that was talked about at the site visit, and I wanted it on the record clear that there is no tree removal. There are some very large trees. Should the applicant want to remove them, there are procedures and regulations that they can contact our office. The sidewalks are all uprooted. They're too steep. for accessibility. They need a lot of work to be safe for accessibility code requirements, and they're not needing to cut any trees down that have uprooted the existing sidewalks. So I just brought that to the point that there isn't any trees proposed to be removed. Thank you.
Any other further questions?
Gotcha.
But they're all, okay, I think the applicant is here. You don't have to say anything, but would you like to add anything to the record?
Joe Erickson, I represent Castle Peak Holdings, I'm a local representative. You covered it perfectly well. This is something, there's two folds. The problem here, one is the sidewalks currently aren't passable, and they're being uprooted. I think they're probably 50 years old or so. And well, we're going to fix them. We're going to take care of the handicap accessibility needs there as well. We're still taking care of that as well. To make a special clean presentation for our renovations. I start here in the next 6 months.
Jane, please.
I'm just saying, we really appreciate the fact that you are doing something with that hotel. Yay, I mean,
Coming.
the hotel, yes, thank you.
So are there any members of the public that would like to speak to this item?
Thank you. Lennox, and the reason I'm here is that the applicant is here. I'm so happy to see this project and see these walkways. I cut through there all the time to go to Mendo Market. I just would love it if I was wishing I would see the parking lot was gonna get fixed, because that Grasscrete is all, it's hauled up and it's a tripping hazard. So the parking lot itself is probably a liability as well. And I would support the review board supporting anything to fix that parking lot as well.
I love the parking lot.
To the chair, can I comment that? Okay, to the chair. Deborah, part of the parking lot is on the application where they're gonna be adding handicap parking.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other members of the public? Okay, I'll bring that up here and look for a motion. I will start to approve staff's recommendation. You said 8 conditions, right? Okay, we've got a motion and a second by Saunders.
The application number 2025-02.
I do know the second, I'm sorry.
The second was
Oh, I'm
Saunders.
sorry, Alan.
I just wanted to make a motion.
Yes.
We're good.
You're back to
I'll keep going.
That's it.
There's a motion on the table by Justine Herbert to approve as recommended within the staff report. And it was seconded by Ellen.
And the actual number, so we have it in the record.
Very good. The MHRB permit is 2025 00002. Sorry, I had to check my zeros there. A Mendocino Historical Review Board request to demolish existing parking stalls, curb, paving, and wooden deck. New parking to include new striping and space for new accessibility parking stall and access aisles, new exposed aggregate to match existing walkways across the site, wooden deck to be rebuilt level to entry doors. Note the project, this location is listed in the Mendocino Town Appendix 1 as a Category 1 historical structure. Please use your house.
That gets, hence the roll call from us. Did we?
Yeah, I wanted to do that, but I was asked to clarify the motions and the request.
Yes, I want you to, no, that's it, right, yeah. Take a roll call, please.
Thank you. Julian Lopez,
Yes.
Deirdre Lamb,
Yes.
Polly Madrigal,
Yes.
and Alan Sanders,
Yes.
and Justine Herbert.
Hi.
All right, approved for staff reporting unanimously.
Is there any room for a point of clarification? Is there any room for a point of clarification on the definition of the material that you just described? You described an exposed aggregate material, is that, so it's gonna be an aggregate surface, or
It's
it's
gonna
a poured
be-
concrete? with
Right, it's gonna be what is
exposed
existing, which is it's gonna be matching what is there now, so it's concrete with aggregate mixed in.
concrete with aggregate, so shouldn't that be described properly
So,
Poured concrete with exposed aggregate is the actual, what it's going to be. Exposed aggregate, it sounds to me like it's gonna be a rock path. So I just,
so I appreciate the question, but we probably should have had that before we voted for the motion. I would be happy though to share with you the materials about what the surface is, and it's existing.
The requirement is that it matches the existing, which is concrete, so it is in there really.
It's already
Got it.
concrete with the rock.
So, you want to check briefly, does anyone need to break anything, or someone keep going?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going then to, item number 9B. This is MHRB 2025-0004, Shepherd Exterior Alterations. Yeah.
Hello, board, everyone, Walden again. Okay, here we are with Mendocino Historical Review Board application 2025, number 4. The request is for exterior alterations at the existing single-family residence, including trim style and colors. The site is listed as a Category 1 historical resource in Appendix 1 as the Flanagan Espola House built in 1889. The project is proposing to remove the existing trim and modify as shown within the staff report to modify the trim style of the residence around the windows and doors, as well as the posts at the deck and the balusters, I forgot what they're called, around the perimeter of the deck railing. They're proposing to change the style of the deck railings from their current shapes to a more uniform.
Pickets.
Well, everything is more straight and flat instead of curved and beveled. It's not beveled, but it's very level, very layered trim pieces. And so if you were to look at the elevations that are proposed and within their drawing, they did provide the railing detail, and then they did provide a elevations showing the difference between the existing trim and the new trim. This staff report has recommendations that are specific to colors. Staff did confirm, so condition 6 specifically states exterior base colors would be the sandy coat gray. That is the same color that the building is currently. It is on all the colors proposed are within the historical collection or the off-white or similar to the historical collection or off-white collection that's been approved by the MHRB. And the door and window mullions are to be a Clinton brown. We spoke with the landowner at the site today, and they said there's no change in the colors, but because the trims are changing, which would be white. So we have a gray base, wall finish, a white trim, and then the decals around the doors and windows will be the Clifton brown. It has 3 colors that have to be brought up to the board. It's subject to your review and approval. All materials should be of wood or consistent with the design guidelines within the Mendocino Historical Review Board guidelines. And staff did receive one comment with regards to this project, and it was questioning the need and why the change is proposed. And staff feels that with the recommendations within the staff report that the staff would recommend approval of this project. I do not have large sets of drawings, so the only drawings I have are 8.5 by 11, and they were sent to you for your viewing pleasures. They're going to have large plans to put on the wall. That concludes my staff report, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay.
Is that what you questions for staff?
I have a question, is the existing gray, that's just going to, let me get this configured right. Is that a Benjamin Moore historic color, the existing gray of the house?
So I don't know if that color is a specific Benjamin Moore colors, but that color is very, very consistent to the Benjamin Moore off-white and historical color palette that's been approved by the board.
You said off-white, but that's really a gray, so.
So there's two color palettes that the board, that the Mendocino Historical Review Board has approved. And one color palette is called historical. And then there's a second palette that is called off-white. And they both range from very dark colors to very light colors, including reds and
Pinks.
purple.
Yellows.
They're not all
grays.
white. So when I say Benjamin Moore off-white, when any staff says Benjamin Moore off-white and historical, it's a color palette. And I know that we do have a color palette here available for if you wanted to.
That's fine.
But that color is, I don't know if that is a Benjamin Moore color, but it is consistent with the Benjamin Moore color.
Okay.
So I'll ask, I believe the applicant's here, would you like to add anything to that, or we can just keep going? It's up to you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm New Yorker, the architect, and the applicant. So we're not asking for a change in color that's not before you today. The trim will remain the existing color that is the off-white. That's it's described as wind's breath or similar. So that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the brown of the colored windows or the base color of the house. It's not part of the request. So we're simply asking to remove some ornamentation, and I got some notes here, which I'm just going to, we're going to simplify the trim package. And I have a couple notes that I took today. I'm quoting out of County Code, Chapter 20.760, which is the Historical Preservation District of Town of Mendocino. And what I want to bring forward is that the conversation is not that materials are supposed to exist as if they were prior to 1900. It's that they should be in general conformance and compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood and not be within disharmony with the architectural character of the surrounding building. So that's what the mission statement for the Mendocino Review Board is, to protect landmark status buildings to ensure that any proposed new development is within the general character of this aesthetic. So,
For actually a quick question, it was mentioned today that the site visit, that the really detailed, that there's some practical impacts to these, that the really detailed window trim was holding water and potentially causing issues with water, and that the railings aren't necessarily, as they are to code for church, small people
right.
on the balcony.
But both of those conditions are true.
Yeah, so that's.
So wood on wood is a place where moisture can accumulate, so there's decorative attachments, so there is some deterioration in that location. So by removing that, yes, we'll be improving potential for rot and decay. And the guardrails are currently at 3 feet, and our current code is 42 inches. And the spacing between the pickets is in excess of the 4-inch maximum, which is defined at keeping a baby's head out of the head,
Yeah.
So, Yes, improving, we're intending to improve the safety of the house, and so that's where we're at.
Okay, so I just wanted, I want to help you out a little here because I went on the archives at Kelly House and found a number of photographs of houses that were built around the same era
Oh.
that don't have any on the windows. They don't have any elaborate details at all. So I've got picture after picture.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, maybe someone added that, and I will say that we did talk about it at the site visit, that house, and I believe you were working with Bob Schlosser when it was raised up, were you?
Just before my time.
Okay, it was like, I think Bob told me it was like 100 jacks to jack it up. So the bottom part of the house is all new, so perhaps those ornamentations were added at that time and are not necessarily historic, because the pictures I kept finding again and again didn't have any ornamentation.
Those are other houses, not the house we're discussing.
That's true, but I would say
So
leave
also-
in character.
Yeah, and also the current owner told us at the site visit that was original trim, historic
So the
trim.
original house was a single-story house. The actual second story of that house was the original house. And in 1985, that second story was lifted up, and we built the second story below it, and Vince created it. When we recently completed a year ago an extensive renovation,
Yeah, we're discussing the trim, and the
Yeah.
owner said to us that that was original. I'm just trying to get it straight, like,
Yeah,
if
so-
that is in fact historical trim, from
I
that.
have a picture of 1985, and that was the detailing that existed in 1985.
Mhm.
Whether it's the detailing that existed in 1910, I can't speak to that. So
Okay.
it's historic back to 1985.
Okay, well, I'm just going on with this.
Yes, that's what I meant, that we knew that the elaborate pickets were added in 1985. But when the house was there in 1985, that detail was there on windows that's what I meant by what I meant was not original, it's like in 1985, we know stuff was added.
Okay, well, you just said the pickets, so the pickets are the trim.
She's asking about the
They
trims.
ascertain the trim around the windows, it's very distinctive.
Okay, so let's, you want to know specifically, the trim was there in 1985, and we can't speak to whether the decorative curvilineal pickets were there or not.
Yes, you can, there's actually a picture that shows that it wasn't, it was those X
Oh,
braces.
the X braces.
The X braces were what was on the house in 1985
You're
before.
talking about the windows.
And so the trim around the windows on the original bottom, before it was raised up, was that like it is today? That's the question.
In 1985,
It was.
yes.
So when they raised the house up, that trim was there on the bottom.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, that's what I mean.
Okay, so, thank you very much. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Well, yes, I will show you a picture of what the house looked like in 1985 as it was raised up with the S brace.
No, it's so cool.
That's
So that's what it was.
Yeah. Was that Bob Avery did that?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to pass up in the air with the hopping strips, then
An extravagant.
That's a great picture.
you get.
It almost matches the skirt profiles
Yes.
identically.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak to this item?
Here, look. Rooms of exercise. Look off.
Hi, Deborah Lennox. I love this house. I was working with Dennis McCroskey across the street when they were raising it up. And Bob Schlosser and Michael Leventhal did a really amazing job of matching the historical trim and historical feeling of the house, because most people don't realize that the first floor was built in 1985. And so when I look at these brackets, that to me is the one thing that's carrying through to hold it together and respect the history of a Category 1 building. And I just really like to see the Category 1 buildings in this town that have trim. I know it rots and you gotta replace it, you just have to replace it. That's the time. The stewardship of a Category 1 building, in my opinion, and so these trim details around the window, I think are important and should stay. But I do know you need to do the 42-inch railing, and since the railing wasn't there before 1985, to me 1985 isn't that historical. So I have no problem with the railings, it's just the trim around the windows that I really wish would stay. And the colors are fine too. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this item? Okay, I'm gonna bring it back up here. Is it further discussion or would it like to make a motion on that?
I think further discussion before we jump into the motion.
That's what I'm asking.
So, I did spend some time going around town, and I've never seen ornamentation like that, and it's hard to say without an original picture. Is that really the original ornamentation? It's hard to say. Or was that added later? Yes. Did you find a picture of the original house in 1910 or whatever?
1890,
Oh, 1890. Thank you.
1895. It says on the plaque, I don't know, I wasn't there.
Yeah, let's give staff the opportunity to respond.
I think I'm gonna give a chair.
Yeah.
So, at the site visit today, we were talking about the trim, and we were talking about the banisters,
That's what they're called. They're called banisters.
railing, and we were talking about the shapes of the columns at the covered porches. And, what I did is I went back and I reviewed the Virgo files. So the railings, there is a picture within the Virgo files that's available to you online. I don't have a picture printed out. That does show that the railings are picket at the entry, and then it shows the cross bracing, railing like the house across the street, which isn't conforming to the California building code standards of these times. So that shows that the banisters are not historic.
I'm not talking about the
And
banisters.
then the columns do show that they do have a very decorative column top at each column, at the covered porches and entrances. I could walk around with a computer to show you those things. And then it looks like the trim at each window varies in the picture, and there's only one picture. It's from a newspaper. It is grainy. It is not a high quality picture. And I don't know the age of it, but it is before the 1985 renovation of the home. So if you would like, I could present that to you to show you what the Circle files say for the record.
You don't have to. Does it look the same as for?
Is it trim? What sort of trim is it around the windows?
It varies. It looks like there are
Different
some.
windows?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So there are some windows that, like, what we see on the site now, there's very tall, narrow windows, consistent, correct? And those, it is hard to say exactly what the detail looks like due to tree shading, and accessibility of the angle of the one picture. There are other windows that were on the structure, that appear to have a very flat, continuous linear trim to them. But those windows are not the tall, narrow, historical preferred window designs. Those are maybe a washroom or a mudroom or something like that.
Thanks, Eric.
I would be glad to show you the pictures, Alan.
No, I find the description is good.
Okay, so it looks like it varies.
And so we're still discussing which new part. I did go through and find a bunch of pictures, and I couldn't really find any evidence like that. And I feel like what she's asking is, she said that first of all, during the site visit, that she's got some water issues with the windows. And second of all she's asking is to be simpler, like what, and so even if it's not historic, it's just trying to be it would still be in harmony with the town, because that's what the
I
town
think you're proving
has.
that it is a historic, because the buildings that were built in that time first varying trend.
Didn't normally have the trim. Okay,
So-
some of them did on the doctor's row, the big, tall, ornate ones, but your normal house is a heck.
So, yeah,
I would just like to make the comment
Okay.
that I think if it is historic, and it seems to be predating 85 at least, that I think it is a responsibility as a historic district to maintain historic craftsmanship of the time, which that trim represents. And I agree that it's an anomaly in the neighborhood. It really is distinctive compared to the other houses, which are cleaner. But if it is historic, it is an example of craftsmanship of the historic era. So I think that it should be preserved, actually. So that's just my statement.
I agree with Justin in terms of trim around the windows and the pillars. I would like to see the railings stay where they are, but I understand that's not possible. I have the same problem. So I would make the change. I don't think I want to see the rest of the king, which is all great because it's not on the application.
I have a question for staff, because I've been down this road before, and it seems like you can't really approve half an application. So it's either we approve it or we deny it. So we're looking at the little things above the windows and saying that she can't get her balcony or pickets done to code, and we're not approving the balcony. You can't approve half of it.
so my defense for her wanting to change the trim is that she's gonna be doing it in a historical style, just
Right.
like you said,
I don't know.
the same paint. Now, whether it has the ornate textures and qualities to it is, I think, the homeowner's just a little discretion. I mean, if she's gonna keep it historical she's using wood, she's using the same color code. None of the houses in the area have it, other than maybe the Bedford Row houses. You're keeping it, you're almost making it more historical. Because it is an anomaly in town. I mean, it's a beautiful home, and I wouldn't change it, but as far as what our is, we're voting to allow her to change it to represent what the other homes in that area.
I know it's a tough call, but I think that as there's idiosyncratic houses in this area, and that just as, to preserve historic craftsmanship, as I've said,
Yeah.
I think that is something that's what I support. But also, Board Member Lamb said that we have to approve the entire application, so I'd like to check in with, Jesse, if that's true. Can we divide, an application and say, well, we approve this part but not that? So that's my question.
If I may through the chair, yes, we can. We can look at an application, its request, and we can say, we approve these parts, but we recommend these specific conditions, or we deny this part of the project, and we have done that multiple times.
I would like to ask, though, before we get there, if there is a motion to approve as staff's recommendation.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the application as submitted.
So that does include both. But is there a second for that?
I'd like to second the motion for MHRB 2025-0004, as stated.
All right. So I appreciate that discussion of the three. Yeah. But you have a motion and a second. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
You can. So the motion on the table is to approve the project, NHRP permit 2024, number 4, for exterior alterations to the existing single-family residence, including trim styles and colors, even though there's no changes to the colors. The site is listed as Category 1 resource in Appendix 1 of the Mendocino Town's Plan as a trust plan in-house, 1889. And it's located at 44901 Pine Street, and the motion is to approve as recommended within the staff report. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And all in, let's see, we have, Alan Sanders.
No. I would like to see the writing change, but that's, no.
Okay. Justine Kerr
No.
and Holly Randall
Yes.
and Julian Lopez
Yes.
and Deirdre Lynn.
Yes.
So the project is approved 3-2.
Okay, where's your ring? And thank you guys for coming in, everybody. Could I ask a question about why that house, given what happened to it in 1985, why did the historical category 1 survive
I think
1985?
that is an interesting topic, but we have.
I don't know whether anyone
Yeah.
knew here.
Yeah,
what the fact was.
That has been brought up, so I think that for our own education, it would probably be good to talk about that at some point.
Yeah.
There's been
It
some
doesn't
other
matter.
comments.
It was mostly just curiosity. It's like,
But, no, we're gonna keep going. We should talk about that, but not this, we should talk about it, and not this evening.
Okay,
I wanna keep us on track, but we could,
Thank you.
I support that discussion. Okay. Okay, so, we're moving on to MHRB 2025-0005. This is for Mendo Realty involving exterior alterations, request for exemption on windows.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Alden, Planning and Building Services. Today I'm here to present to you a Mendocino Historical Review Board permit application 2025, number 5. The request is to replace 10 windows with vinyl or aluminum materials. The project is Mendocino Town Appendix 1 lists the project as a Category 2A historical site. This is the Fraser House, 1911. The site is located at 44671 Main Street. A little bit of background about this site is that in 2022, the applicants and the owners of this site they applied for their MHRB permit 2020, number 19, to resolve a code enforcement violation of windows that had been replaced on the building previous to their ownership with non-wood materials, and also that's changing the materials and not having an MHRB permit to do so. So in 2022, the board approved a permit, 2022, number 19, for all windows in the building to be of wood material and to be truly divided. And this application, because there were specific conditions in that 2022-19 permit, it said that all materials of the windows shall be wood and truly divided. The applicants have proposed in front of you today, they would like to request that the windows on the south side of the building only may remain the materials that they are. There has been one window on the south side that has been replaced with wood. There are a variety of other windows that are vinyl, and there is one window that is aluminum. And the owners and applicants of this property would like to request the review board review and consider the request to keep those materials of those windows. I want to clarify that within the application and within the staff report, it says 10 windows. And depending on what you define a window, one window could be right next to each other, or one window could look like it's two windows. and how wood windows are constructed and how vinyl and aluminum windows are constructed, it could be one window. And if you look at the elevations that were presented to you today within the hearing packet, all of the windows on the first floor would be vinyl with the exception of the second window from the east. That would be wood. And there's one very large aluminum frame window in the gable end on the upper level, and the remaining of the upper level windows would remain vinyl if you were to consider the request for just the south-facing windows to have alternative materials to this site. At the site visit today, the landowner owners and applicants presented a letter, and I'm going to read it for the record. It says, there are 13 windows originally scheduled for replacement. We replaced 5 in 2024. 2 are on special order and will be replaced. When the second special order windows are installed, we will have replaced all windows on east, west, and north.
West East.
West, sorry. Let me restate the sentence for the record. When the 2 special order windows are installed, we will have replaced all windows on west, east, and north that needed replacement that were potentially visible by the general public. There are still 6 windows on the rear of the building, south side, which is not visible to the general public, and we are asking for a variance that would state we do not have to replace these 6 windows until such time they fail or need replacing. Thank you for your consideration. Another option that was talked about at the site visit today that was proposed by the landowners and applicants is that their original application said that they would like to allow the south-facing windows to be of alternative materials. You saw them today on the site. That's for your consideration. But they also said if the board didn't prefer that they would be willing to replace the vinyl windows and the aluminum window with wood when it becomes time to replace them and maintain the structure. They are in good working order now. They are not needing to be replaced from a maintenance perspective. I'm almost done, and I just want to, there is a condition number 6 and 7 where they're very specific about all windows on the west, east, and north shall be wood and shall be consistent with the design guidelines. There's also the white trim of the windows shall be maintained. Also very specific about any building material standards. And then condition number 7 recommended is that the 10 exterior windows. So just, if the board has any questions, is it 6 or is it 10 or anything? I think that the board got that, got good clarity when we were looking at the site. But if anybody has any questions, it's open to that. But condition 7 does say 10 exterior windows on the southern elevation of the structure, maybe vinyl or aluminum windows as shown in the attachment B. All other windows would be wood frame, truly divided windows and painted to match existing trim. The applicants are working diligently to move forward with their code enforcement complaint, and this is their request to you today, and they have their active building permits. I recommend approval with the conditions within the staff report, and I am available if you have any questions. Staff has not received any comments from the public regarding this project, and I believe that 2 of the landowners are present should we have questions to them.
I just have a question. Okay, so yes, owners did provide a different count of windows, so if a motion was made on the staff report, I just want, asking for some clarification. Because one of the owners was saying that the count was wrong because they're vinyl windows and it looks like 2 double-hung windows and they're actually 1. And so in order to be, make a motion that was coherent, it seems to me that a clarification needs to be done on exactly how many windows that there are. And also the windows in the front, they have replaced towards the street. So I think there's another one that's going to be replaced. There's 2 on the corner. And so is that in the application or the letter?
Okay, here's two
Staff
questions
report.
on the table.
Thank you.
So one of the questions that I hear on the table is how many windows on the south side will be replaced?
Right.
And the second question.
Never. No. Actually. How many windows are there on the south side to be approved?
Considered, very good.
Okay.
I can put it another way, so we don't have to pick out a tank discussion. And just say that when, by the time all the windows are replaced, they all must be wood. And until they are replaced for repair, they can remain as they are vinyl and wood.
So that would clarify.
That will clarify that, I mean, figure out if there's 6 or 10 or 30 or whatever.
Good, fine.
Okay,
But then the second question, you can address the second question.
I heard 2 people talking and I hear they're loud and clear. Holly, could you clarify what your question was?
I was just saying, there was a second question.
Thank you. So, there are 2 windows that are on special order for the east elevation. And those have not been installed. Those are special order windows and the owner have a building permit and they are actively pursuing replacing the last 2 remaining windows.
On the north side.
Yes.
North and east.
I'm sorry, I was incorrect. Of the west, east, and north elevations, there are 2 windows of those 3 sides of the building that have not been replaced back to the wood material. And those 2 windows are on special order and they will be replaced as soon as those 2 windows are fabricated and
Next.
shipped to the building.
Thank you.
Will this, if this is approved, will this close that code enforcement action?
No, it will not. Great question, and I will say no, it will not, because part of the owner's responsibility is to obtain the necessary building permits as well as the discretionary permits, like an MHRD. So they will need to close out their building permits to show completion of the work that requires a building permit. So they are asking, they have an active building permit to replace all of the windows with wood. If that was finalized and the owners wanted to retain all wood windows, we would not be here today. And they would just need to close out that building permit, install all those windows, get a final inspection, and then code enforcement, it did not work for code enforcement. They have their own guidelines of what closes a case, but I believe that it would be the MHRB permit, the building permit, and then any lingering paperwork with the code enforcement department.
So,
If they get approval of this request with alternative materials, they would want to modify their existing building permit to not say that they're replacing all windows. They would need to create a clarification to the building inspector, so when the building inspector comes to final their project, there's the appropriate materials and the appropriate locations.
And if
So
it was
is there-
approved, that would, let me just finish, if that was approved, our approval would be in that packet so that the building inspector would say, okay, they give a variance.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Both of the MHRD permits will be, I assumed, if the board was to approve today's request under the 2025-05 request,
Yeah.
the building permit will have the conditions from the 2022-19 permit along with today's permit.
so I'm a little confused. So there's a building permit to replace all the windows with wood windows.
Correct.
What we're talking about is the timing. In other words, when the remaining get replaced. Is there a time limit on the building permit being closed out? Is there a reason to close out the building permit in the next, be wild, 20 years before they replace the windows?
Yes.
So what is it?
The reason?
Yes.
Building permits expire and code enforcement they are pursuing getting resolution to all their code enforcement cases.
So the building permit would expire at some point.
Typically, building permits are good for 1 year from issuance to your next
Okay.
inspection, and then depending on the inspection, they get extended a little bit. 6 months, 1 year, depending on the type of work that you're doing.
So if we approve the permit as requested, we are approving that those windows are vinyl. How do we get in there the understanding that when they fail, that they go to wood? How does that happen? How do we structure that? I guess that's the question. I'm not sure how we do that. And I mean, that's what we'd like to do personally, but I'm not sure how we do it.
Probably a management they would have to submit with a permit.
If I may,
Yeah.
I think this is a really good discussion. So, I think that what we have is this application as proposed, option 1, it could be denied by the review board because they already have a building permit consistent with all wood windows. So, okay, we tried, we paid our fees, we're trying to get compliance, we're working forward. Option number 2 is that we could revise, and bear with me, we could revise condition 7 to state very clear verbiage, and staff is going to ask for a 5-minute break to write that condition to state that they can retain those materials, alternative materials, but the next time that they come in to replace those windows, they have to be woods. I would, option number 2, and the applicant actually proposed that at the site visit. But I'm not ready to say verbatim quote the verbiage. I would want to write that out
But
first.
that would be the incentive. So that's how to get the incentive across. From a personal point of view, that's what I would like to do. I can't speak for it.
And option number 3, and Julie.
Option 2, you're saying is a no as well, right? As far as the voting no on this, or voting yes, but with the provision.
Yes.
I feel
And I think it should be noted that this applicant has submitted an application towards us to show code enforcement that they're dealing with this.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very reasonable thing for the applicant to ask.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing it in the spirit of what we want to ask. It's just a question of how do we structure it so it happens.
And
Can I
Jesse
do
said
this
she
one,
could do that.
there is also number 3, which would be staff's recommendations which does not allow for the, making sure that's their function, right?
Yeah.
So no revising a condition, and then, as is. But, are there, the applicant is here, but are there any other questions for Leonard Waldman?
I just want to clarify, there were some questions from multiple board members about time frame. So let's say that this project was approved as option 2, to make the vinyl and aluminum windows be replaced with wood eventually. Or if they were allowed to, or if they were allowed to retain the as is. Both of those options allow for the landowner to get those 2 extra wood windows and be able to modify that building permit and get that closed out. And then, let's say that those windows didn't need to be replaced for 10 years, or 5 years, or 50 years. I don't know how long an aluminum window that was installed 40 years ago is gonna last. But if you get, that buys them time, instead of having to do all of the windows all at once, the cost of wood windows versus the cost of aluminum or vinyl windows that are already there, that creates more time for the owners. And that creates a break between code enforcement's pressure for them to move forward.
Yeah.
So that's a weird way to talk about it, but there's compliance and then there's not compliance. And these applicants are working on compliance and they're looking for an alternative.
Understood.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does that conclude?
Your part, yes.
Okay, my
I
part.
believe the applicants have visited, if you want to add anything to that.
Greg Burke, from the 70s, Justin the Dell. So, I guess I'd like to speak to Deborah first off, because I think as stewards of a category historical home, there is some pride in that. And then, even though we're a category 2, and it still applies, I think that's why we specifically didn't have to, but we wanted to order these special truly divided windows to match the northeast corner and make the whole building flow. So we haven't given thought to that. But I want to address that, but I think it's coming up and saying something. I think when we did the water run today, I don't know if everyone knows that basically from that northeast corner all the way down the east side and back to the south side was an addition to that category home in the 1980s. So it never looked like that home. So that kind of speaks to your situation. And all of a sudden, we had this major renovation that was done. And who knows how that happened, but that's where we are. And we did take out quite a few perfectly good windows all the way, because they were, in our minds, visible from the general public. You could see them. So now if you're going down either part of Main Street or staring at the building, you wouldn't see that. And I think the board members today, when they looked at the one we did replace in the back, is it did need replacing. And we replaced it with wood. Particularly if you stood back, it really there wasn't. You could tell one was newer, the look, with the painted trim and everything. It felt like it is something that maybe we could do over time. I think that there have been a couple of exceptions. I'm thinking back in, I don't remember what it was, but I think the old Grimes property on Crestwood had some windows that they petitioned to not replace it. They weren't visible to the public. I don't remember when that was. I just remember hearing how that spoke to, I think, someone who would be the owners to that. And then also, I've been following some of the more recent minutes on the thing, and I did notice, I think when it was still light, I might have told to look up Clark Street and see the Shannon's water tower, which I noticed in the last meeting or meeting before, there was, and it's not that they weren't really nice windows, but they did have a metal trim to them that was going to be painted cranberry, I think, or something like that. So I don't feel that the board is breaking some kind of precedent by considering this. This evening, all we're doing is asking for a little time and cognizant that when we do need to replace those windows in the back, as they fail, we will be doing it. And
yeah, so just to add to this, so I found out about this issue while we were answering by building. And when I was ordered to do it, I started asking around, well, when do we think some of these windows were installed? And so I think we asked obviously we knew Kathy Orsi, who'd been there 40 years, and she says, well, some of these have been here before I even started working with them, which dates those windows to before I was born. So I think the important thing is even from day one, our intention was to get these windows fixed, get the issue resolved. That's always been our plan. I think what we're just asking for here in this case is, pretty clear. We want to get them addressed. We want to do the right thing. We just need to have more time to replace these things. We definitely want to do the right thing and get them to out.
Thank you. That's really good to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you guys.
Before we take the break, I'm gonna see if there's any hold on. I'm gonna see if there's any members of the public that want to speak to this. Well, I think, also before we do the break, I want us to get the temperature. Is that the direction that we're wanting to go, is to have a condition that when they're replaced, that it would be done?
That was, explains that for me.
Yes, I think that it would be good if Jesse did take her a few minutes to write a staff report that did include what Alan was saying.
Yeah.
As far as that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that that's.
Yeah,
the direction
I'm in-
we're going
I'm in
for.
there,
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna take a 5-minute break, to allow staff to craft a condition.
Okay, thank you. If I may through the chair, I just want to clarify that the condition, the intent of the condition from the board is that when the time comes to replace the southern windows that are not wood, that they must be required to be replaced with wood.
Correct.
That is the intent.
I would say, windows, just any windows, it doesn't, I mean, you might say any, the sacks, because then we avoid this confusion of having shouted.
No, since you can work with a rotted window, like we certainly did.
I'd say instead of with wood, with approved window material.
Yeah.
I'd say that, with approved,
When the
Mendocino.
time comes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because who knows what it's gonna be in 25 years.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna agree with Board Member Lopez. I mean, if in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, there's some new material that the board agrees is far superior to wood,
Approved materials.
it should be, we wanna do what the board approves, but if the board says in 10 years, no more wood, we don't wanna be stuck with wood.
Whatever's in the
Yeah.
guideline, whatever's in the
guidelines.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Do you need some clarity on that?
The guidelines say that they should be wood.
There you go.
Right, so we'll
So just say, but say for the guidelines.
To be allowed to remain in place until needing to be replaced. So allowed to remain in place with a non-conforming material, but upon needing to be replaced, they need to be of wood.
No, of the guidelines.
Of the guidelines.
The point being, if the guidelines change in the next 10 or 15 years.
Okay, fine.
Okay, are you going to call it?
We're taking a 5-minute break at 8:06. Okay, we're gonna reconvene and see if we can't wrap this up. 8:20. Would someone like to make a motion that she will then read to us the language? Or do you want to read the language
I
first?
think we want to look at the language.
Okay, so this is the suggested,
This is suggested replacement or revision of condition number 7. The revision will read, 10 exterior windows on the southern elevation of the structure shall remain vinyl aluminum material for the remaining life of the windows. At time of required window replacement, all windows shall be replaced with materials consistent with current design guidelines.
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
So I would change some of that.
Okay,
I'm sorry, but I would say, I don't notice in there all vinyl windows, don't need to put number in there. And I would say the guidelines existing at the time of replacement, rather than current, because current is ambiguous. Current could mean the ones that are in existence that they. All right, so.
No, because we keep changing.
All the orange place and trillion. Consistent. And so consistent with the guidelines in place at the time of replacement. Sounds good. Guidelines.
At the time of replacement.
With current design guidelines,
No, I'm not
with
current.
design guidelines current
At the time of replacement.
at times. That's so weird. Hold on.
because you want to move the current there, because the word went down.
So we have all windows shall be replaced with materials consistent with design guidelines at the time of replacement.
Replacement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go.
Do you want that motion?
Okay, cool. Yes, I'll move that we approve whatever the number is,
2025-0005.
with the condition 7 changed as just discussed.
I second.
Call for vote?
No, I'm sorry, there's something wrong with this condition. Here's why. One sentence, grammatically. At time of required window replacement, comma, all windows shall be replaced with materials consistent with design guidelines at the time of replacement. This does not make sense. That means that I'm replacing the window twice. So,
What do you mean?
I understand what you just said, yeah. How bad?
So he's got a version that we're gonna,
Instead of saying all, you say each window at time of required replacement.
Quick design guidelines, I think, are currently written.
as window replacement becomes required, all windows shall be replaced with materials consistent with design guidelines
In place at the time of replacement.
in place.
Wait,
No, leave that before act in place. Apologies and thank you for your patience. As at time of only.
Well, that is that.
It's so weird to have him type and me say.
No, I know, thank you, Jesse.
Thank you for your patience, everyone.
The all windows. Anti-night replacement.
No, because he didn't want to put a number, and then what do you do? You want to go?
I think I would say instead of all windows, each window needing replacement.
Yeah. As windows need to be replaced, they shall be replaced with,
Yes,
Yes, I'll listen.
the materials that are current.
yeah, as windows need to be replaced, they will be replaced.
The materials that conform to guidelines of the time.
Yeah, something like that.
Guidelines at the time of the windows sale.
So weird.
Okay, you ready?
We're all ready.
Yep.
You guys ready? Exterior windows on the southern elevation of the structure shall remain vinyl aluminum material for the remaining life of the windows, period. As required window replacement occurs, windows shall be replaced with materials consistent with the design guidelines in place at that time of replacement.
At the time of.
It's fine, it's fine. It's fine.
That's fine.
It's not beautiful.
I think that that's better than replacement and replacement.
It's fine.
That is more,
I like it.
Yeah.
And so,
Yes.
I get it, yeah.
We've got a motion from Saunders.
right,
It's okay, I know it's frustrating. You wanted to get a look at it and make sure we're not looking. We had a motion from Saunders to approve staff's recommendation with the altered language on condition 7. Yes, second, Herbert.
My second.
Oh, second, Lopez.
And I'd like to get a roll call.
can you hit save? Thanks.
Definitely a second.
It is credited to the record.
that's all the people were sure if you're really policy. Good stuff.
Okay, the motion on the table is to approve the project, MHRD 2025, number 5, for the Mendocino Property Realty. The request is, to replace 10 windows with vinyl aluminum windows. The parcel is mapped in as a category 2A historical structure. It's located at 44676. The project motion is to approve the project with a revision to condition number 7, which states Exterior windows on the southern elevation of the structure shall remain vinyl aluminum material for the remaining of the life of the windows. As required, window replacement occurs. Windows shall be replaced with materials consistent with the design guidelines in place at that time of replacement.
Yes.
Move on, last same page. Justine Perler,
Yes.
Deirdre Lamb,
Aye.
Pauline Agricola,
Yes.
and Julian Lopez,
Yes.
and Alan Sanders.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
I vote
Okay.
A new permit will be issued 10 days, there's an appeal period. I'll send out an action letter tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah.
On 10 days, these numbers, I realize that. But I'm gonna go to 11A, this is matters with staff, you got that. Case number CDP 2025-0002. This is a request for an administrative coastal development permit to construct a detached garage with a guest cottage on the second floor, including the use of the guest cottage as a temporary dwelling during the renovation of the existing single-family residence. Upon completion of the renovation, the temporary dwelling will be converted to a guest cottage, and this is on the property just across Little Lake Road, just across the highway on the left, at 44780 Little Lake Road.
Hello, review board, Deputy Wallman, Planning and Services. Yes, as stated, we are requesting comment from the review board. And part of the coastal development permits, we did this last month where we had a project discretionary permit. We're looking for the review board's input. There is no decision that's going to be made at this time. Should the developments that be proposed in this application actually be visible from Zone A, as it's located in Zone B, it will require a coastal development or an MHRB permit to come back for the formal request to you. At time of the referral packet, there was the original architectural drawings that were submitted to our office, and the project was referred out to a variety of different agencies on February 19th of 2025. This morning, our staff came in, and on Friday, the owner and the agents submitted a revision to 2 of the architectural drawings. I do have them up here. The revisions are to sheet A21 and sheet A31, per my understanding. Hope I got that right. Sheet A21 is the floor plan and schematics of floor plan for both levels of this 2-story garage and guest cottage. And that will not be in the digital hearing packet that you did receive, but it is available in paper in the packet that has been presented to you today at the hearing. There have been a couple of windows that have been added. Let me just verify for the record. These just came in today at I just got staff just found these today. They came in on Friday. I do not know. There should be a revision cloud. There are windows that are proposed on the east elevation, furthest away from Zone A on the lower level, as shown on sheet A3.1. And they also did a revision cloud on sheet A2.2 of those 3 windows that they are proposing on the lower level of the garage. Staff did conduct a site visit from Zone A today. And this is the site plan. And this site plan does not show me where the existing tree line is. In fact, conducted a site visit along Pallet Drive. And there are view sheds from Pallet Drive to County Road that do look through this property into the neighbor's property that is a single-story building. And staff has not, based on my site view today, staff has not been able to determine where the proposed two-story garage or guest cottage, two-story structure, garage, guest cottage, where that will be on the site with relation to the view shed from Pallet Drive. Staff did conduct a site visit from Little Lake Street is Highway 1. The site is not visible, which makes it exempt from the MHRB permits.
Correct.
There is no changes proposed to the single-family residence that exists on the site, but there is an extensive amount of improvements to this existing home. If they were to propose exterior changes to the single-family residence, portions of the second story are visible from Zone A. That would be subject to MHRB review. This project may or may not come back to you based on determining where the trees and the screening exists between Zone A and Zone B for the site. But today, what we're looking at is the comments that the board can bring forward on the site. Should it not be visible? And should it be visible from Zone B or Zone A? Staff is going to be meeting with the clients probably within the next 2 weeks to discuss visibility and complete exemption from MHRB or what will require a permit approval from the MHRB board. This applicant does have proof of water for their proposed development. They're proposing to build a 2-story garage with a guest cottage upstairs, convert the guest cottage upstairs into a single-family residence, and live in that building temporarily while they do a complete renovation of the existing single-family residence. Upon the completion of the single-family residence, they would then convert the guest cottage being used temporarily as a residence back into a guest cottage. This would not be eligible for a short-term rental. Should they want to apply for accessory dwelling units when those become available in Division 3, they are more welcome to do that. There are second residential units, and that is not a part of this project. It is just a temporary residence during construction of the new single-family residence. They are going to the Mendocino County Archaeological Commission hearing on Wednesday for determination. The owners have been very thoughtful with their designed materials. Their height limits are consistent with the zoning of their parcel. And let me double check my color schematics.
Although, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, the colors will match their single-family residence that you see at the corner. And then one more thing before you ask questions. They may or may not require driveway improvements from Little Lake Road into their private driveway. Staff has not received comments from the Department of Transportation. And staff will look at those requirements, and that may also require an HRB permit, depending on what those improvements are required as that ADHD. And staff is really just looking for comments, and I'm sorry to apologize, I just wanted to add in a couple of little moving factors.
Right, but I just, this isn't currently before this board. You're wanting feedback.
Yes.
But if it's found not really visible, like, there's a lot of moving parts with other things that we do not have anything to do with, right? So.
Yes. So part of the county regulation requires that any discretionary permit be presented to any agency that has experience, feedback, and valuable information. And that is per a specific noticing requirement and part of the CEQA review of any coastal development permit, use permit, administrative, any discretionary permit. So sometimes you're going to have projects such as these discretionary permits that are not subject to any requirement of needing an MHRB permit, but it is the duty to get give the interested agency the opportunity to provide.
Check that box. Okay, was there a question that's here? The applicant is here.
No.
Right.
So is this a coastal development permit, is that the coastal commission?
So, great question. The California Coastal Commission,
Yeah.
they do, they're the state agency.
The coastal development commission, I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
The California Coastal Commission,
Uh-huh.
so they're the state agency that governs over anything in the coastal zone, and sometimes they retain jurisdiction and are the lead agency. This site is with Mendocino County, gets to act as the lead agency. There is a long history, starting in 1992, were the county and the Coastal Commission, Mendocino County's planning and the Coastal Commission, we kind of worked like this about who is the lead agency, but they're our big sister, our big brother. They have one up on us, they're the state, but we both act as lead agencies, and it really is up to the Coastal Commission if they are gonna allow us to do the coastal development permit.
Okay. Okay,
So I'd like to, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'd like to invite the applicant, did you want to add anything to that?
I'd just like to clarify, well, this would be very free. That's Linux, and Megan Durbin is the agent, but I'm working with her on the architectural part. And this is not a revision just to your plans, it's going to be a clarification, because this fell through the cracks, and nobody caught it. This east elevation windows were drawn on the plan, but not on the elevation. The north elevation windows were drawn on the elevation, but not on the plan. So all these are already there, they just weren't on the plan. So just wanted to maybe the
We
clarification.
didn't look that deeply because it's only for comments. So.
Yeah, so anyway, so we're gonna fix that as we go. Just wanted to clarify, so.
It's a lovely.
Yeah,
I
lovely,
noticed
by the
that
way.
the
It
house-
is.
Yeah, the house in the front of the property is lovely.
I like to comment, I think it's a very nice design, I think it fits really nicely with the town, I think it's got a lot of thought to it, and I like the project a lot.
Thank you.
Did you want to add anything?
Yes. No, that's okay. That's right. Okay. Megan Durbin, Wind Coastal Planning and Biology, agent for the applicant, working with Deborah on architecture. And we believe that the development will not be visible from Zone A. The only place where there might be a possibility of some visibility would be from Pallet Drive and the Hill House, which is excluded from the historic zone. I'm sure we could get into semantics about what those maps mean, but frankly, it's not visible from anywhere in the historic zone A because of the natural landform and the difference in elevation. Additionally, there is as Jesse Planner Baldwin mentioned, the trees are not identified on the site plan, but there is a line of tall cypress trees that are on the south and west boundary line that definitely what should be seen there. As a point of clarification, the house to the east is a two-story house as well. That's this one. And the Deborah Lennox has, and with the applicants, has made a conscientious effort to make sure that the design of the building, matches with the character stuff. And you all have already noticed that. That's great. That's beautiful. Thank you very much for your time.
So, I need to ask each board member if they have any additional comments.
No.
Do you have any additional comments? Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, this is in your neck of the woods. Okay, so we have
got some general comments of, looks good, looks lovely. Yeah, and so we don't need to vote on anything, we just, received your comments.
I guess if we really wanted to get technical about it, we could vote if that there's no comment on, that the board has no comment, or we could just say that it's unanimously agreed upon and
Yeah,
there's
is
no
there any
comment.
comment from the public that is here to decide it? Okay. So just that we
Received,
yeah.
just, that's general approval.
Thank you, so that will take that back.
Thank you so much.
So I found matters from the board, is the board knows that?
Susan Hahn. Oh, yeah, before this, I just wanted to introduce the landowners here to you in town. This is Lisa and Laurel.
Thank you, they're welcome here.
You might want to say how excited they are.
Looks like you really did a nice job with the plans down. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah.
We really have very, very strong feelings about maintaining the character of the house and being true to how it was built in the beginning. When we first met with Deborah, the very first thing I said was that any building we put on that land has to mirror, and I'm very clear about that, the original home. Because the home was built in 1880 and was owned only by 2 families.
It's a really cool house. I saw it when I was on tour.
Yeah,
Great house, yeah.
and it's a part of the history. I'm kind of sad that it's not been recognized in the city, because the founders that were actually the first iron workers in the mills lived in that house. Some of the first historically the first funerary for Mendocino was in a side building in that home.
So may I suggest, because Eleanor Svirko went around and she tried to document everything. She was this like amazing woman. And she went around and she got about 70%. But for instance, my house, which was built in 1882 across from Town Hall, is not on that registry. So what the Kelly House Museum told me was, why don't you do some research and start a file, and then we'll put that information in the Kelly House Museum. So that might be something.
It's already been done.
You may want to, okay.
Yeah,
very good.
we hired historians at the
There you
museum
go, okay.
before we moved in.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Till the very end
Welcome.
of the end of the meeting.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Did the board have any other matters?
When does the water tower hit the board of supervisors?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Is it tomorrow?
I don't think so.
No, it's not. I looked at the, I don't see it.
I had a meeting with Supervisor Leonard and I don't have it yet. I thought it was done already, but we haven't.
No, I know I think that's.
Ellen Sanders, if I may, through the chair, I will find out the status of that and send an update to all board members regarding the Raymond Water Tower.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is this the time where we could put something on the docket for next?
As long as you have the.
Yeah. Oh, can I-
The chair.
So yeah, I'd like to add a discussion between the board members and to talk about the possibility of changing not changing, but allowing a different style of building material for windows. And I don't know if that needs to be on the docket to be able to have that conversation, or if we can just have that conversation next time. But I know that she talked about how if we are going to try to change the guidelines, that has to be done by the board of supervisors when they redo the county planning and building information. So I think it's like a drawn out 8-10 year plan. They don't even know when we're going to be voting on it next. But if we propose something, they will take it into consideration. So that would be something like what you guys did before my time with the signs. Where you
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many times that we've gone over windows. I'm exhausted even thinking about it. And then the public shows up, and then you get everybody, it's a huge thing.
Well, I know, but at the end of the day, it's our decision. And the public can come in and talk about it, we're not going to be creating the guidelines that I wanna have, that I wanna be able to talk about, the guidelines haven't been changed since 85.
Or there.
So we're in 2025, and one of the biggest complaints that we have out here is that windows are too expensive. I mean, the realtor alone, they would go out of, he told me they'd go out of business if they had to replace all of them in one fell swoop. So something needs to be done about it, and we can at least have the conversation.
It's fine,
So
conversation.
can I just
Yeah.
clarify?
I'm not gonna try and make progress Monday, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Just
I
clarify.
got 15 minutes.
Listen,
So
can I just clarify? Did Ian and I have a meeting about the windows at the Ellie house? I feel like we had like a working group, honestly.
we did.
And then brought it back to here. I can probably find those like detailed minutes just from last time.
That'd be great, and what I plan on doing is bringing together a pack of possible materials, and we can look them over. So that's, I don't know if that can go on to the.
Okay, matters for discussion or whatever.
Yeah, can I see that? Okay, is there
Before we move to the next item,
which is adjournment? I think we're,
so Julian, is your question really about putting on the agenda about windows? Or is your question about putting on the agenda the idea to the board for revising the design guidelines?
Exactly, that's what
Okay, staff would like to add a couple of things that on September 12th,
Can I leave? There's no more votes, right?
sorry, so,
Thank you, I wanna make the market.
so board member Dan is leaving at 8:48. Sorry, Jesse, carry
I just wanted to know, are you asking about window materials, or are you asking about the design guidelines? To be an item on the agenda, the question was, how do we get something on the agenda? Do you want windows on the agenda, or do you want discussion for the board?
Discussion for the board.
Design guidelines?
For the design, for the Mendocino Historical Review Board guidelines to be updated, in a conversation about materials.
But it's just a discussion.
Yeah, but I think it should be listed so that the public can come and talk about it.
But would we vote on it, or would we just
I
discuss?
think initially it would be a discussion, and what could come out of that would be like potentially a recommendation for
A
when.
recommendation to the board of supervisors.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I may, through the chair, it's a great time to have that discussion. I think that staff would like to recommend a time limit for every hearing that you have that you want to designate for staff, not for staff, for the board members to all be convened together to talk about what your goals are. And the reason why I say a time limit is because we could talk forever about it, because there's a lot of things that haven't been updated. But if I may suggest a 10-minute or a 15-minute time limit, I'm not saying you have to agree to that, I just suggest it. If it was 5 minutes every meeting, 10 minutes every meeting, you might have a lot of discussion over a few meetings. And then don't forget the directive from the Planning and Building Services Director that memos and letters from the board. So if one person from the board wrote a letter, presented it to the board as a topic on the matters from staff about the design guidelines, you guys all agreed, yes, that is what we want. That is one comment that we would like to have for the future amendment. Those 10 to 15-minute intervals would be valuable for all of you to get your clear point represented for our staff to be able to work them into the revisions when the time comes. Starting to build that portfolio about what the guideline, what the board is looking for would be very, very valuable. So just two things, a time frame, somebody draft a letter, read it to the board, you guys just, yes, no, let's change that, whatever you'd like to do.
Great.
10 minutes?
Yeah, let's do 10 minutes, for the next meeting, and I'll bring a little draft of what I'm talking, like, want to talk about. Is that okay? Okay, great. Sounds good.
Is there a motion to adjourn? adjourn?
Teacher said yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Teacher said
We are
yes.
adjourning